which is a process which is not yet completed. It's been a complex process of building nations, of building prosperity, of bringing a lot of people out of poverty, and building democracy. Democracy in Latin America is not something that is taken for granted. Democracy in Latin America, we started building it in the 90s. It's a process that has gone more or less well. In the 1990s, we had only about 2 or 3 countries with a civilian government. In Latin America, the rest were military generals with mustache and a lot of medals. So this was created a complicated situation in which you have inequality, you have lax respect for the law, and you have we have not built a really democratic culture in other countries. Now, having said that, Latin America is many countries, so we have differences from one to other countries. We have, at the beginning of this millennium, we have a wave of left-wing governments that created some kind of hope among the people that they were going to solve these 200-year problems, and that didn't happen. So, if you look at a map of Latin America in 2005, you see almost all of it red. Today, you see very little red. The last red country that became blue was Bolivia and Uruguay. So, in that sense, Latin America is a complex country with a lot of assignments to complete, a lot of assignments unfinished, a lot of difficulties in building prosperity, in building equality, a lot of difficulties in building a democratic culture in which people respect the law, people respect institutions. And what we saw last year was an explosion of protests in many countries in Latin America, but that they're not leading anywhere. They just show that people are angry, but people are angry at many different things for many different reasons, and they don't know what to want. They don't want to take down a government, but they don't know exactly what they want to put instead. So this is Latin America in terms of politics. Is a very complex continent. Nevertheless, Latin America has progressed a lot. If you look at the indicators of poverty 50 years ago and today, we have improved. The indicators of infrastructure, we have improved. But there's always not enough. There's always something missing. It's corruption. Odebrecht opened up the idea that corruption started in Mexico, finished in Argentina, nobody was spared. Very few countries were spared. And then the corruption was more a symptom than a problem. It's a symptom of a culture that does not accept established rules, that does not accept that encourages shortcuts to get ahead, and these shortcuts are going to affect democracy. But anyway, we have a continent with a lot of challenges, and we hope that we keep improving, maybe 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards, and eventually we'll probably improve and improve and improve. We'll never get to heaven. Nobody ever gets to heaven, but we might get away from hell.
Okay, so now on a positive note, so Veronica, I know that particularly, and you and I have had conversations on this a little bit, but we saw in recent years, and I think it was particularly after Guatemala made that decision of moving the embassy to Jerusalem, and Israel, you know, the foreign relations with Israel, Latin American countries kind of came to the forefront. We have seen more and more, but we've seen it more that it's actually become part of the running platform of you know, future elected officials or just people that have the hopes to get there. How have you seen this developed, and what do you think are the challenges with that?
I think that more and more the world is connected, and what seemed to be a part of the world that nobody really took attention or paid attention to, but 2 terrorist attacks. And still, unfortunately, I have to say that our government officials have a lot to learn about what Hezbollah or other terrorist organizations are. So they are forced to make a stand on where they are or where their government will go, but we need to work with them in educating and providing enough information for them to make informed decisions. And on that topic, I think the Jewish communities are very active and do a very good job. Maybe not as well as AIPAC, we have a lot to learn still, but we are working our way to make sure that our candidates, our politicians are well informed, and that I think is the basic.
So there's things obviously to be improved, but we're doing our part.
Oh, we should do. Yeah, I mean, we are doing, and I encourage people to continue doing, and more to do. Yes, the part to educate their opinion makers.
Correct. So one of the things that we have also seen in Latin America is that communities at large, and I guess it's because now this topic has kind of come to the forefront, and there's more conversation around Israel. Before it was not even talked about, maybe barely written about in major newspapers. Then we've also seen a changing face regarding Israel and regarding acceptance or rejection of the local Jewish communities. So Jewish communities in the different countries have had to adopt, kind of like change the way that they relate to the different communities in their country, whether it's good or bad, whether it's taking advantage of the allies that they have or dealing with other situations. And one country that has seen tons of changes has been Chile. And Chile, I mean, I applaud you all because it's amazing what you've had to go through. And I would love, Taryn, if you could please just share with us a little bit of all these challenges, that you've had to deal with in the last years, maybe a couple of decades, but that changing face for you as a community.
And we have been adapting to new scenarios, new problems, and we are looking at how this situation will go to try to adapt to that as a Jewish community. So I will give some general context so to you to understand our community. About according to the last census, we are 14,000 Jews in Chile, mainly living in Santiago, its capital. But from these 4,000 people, just about 7,000 or 8,000 actively practice Judaism, meaning going to Jewish schools or attending synagogues or clubs or etc. We have about 40 installations all around the country. It's a mostly conservative or Masorti community, but with a rising presence of Orthodox over the last 10 years or something like that. So let's be clear, nowadays it's not dangerous to be a Jew in Chile, but it's not a comfort thing, right? We have, from the security perspective that I work in, a way to categorize, that's word, our problems, let's say. So I will talk about that. Our first problem or things or challenge that we see is the extreme right presence or neo-Nazis. This group was very, very active and very strong 2000 or something like that. They tried to make international reunions in Chile. We had to work very, very hard to stop them with the local government, and we kind of manage them nowadays. They tend to be more active against other minorities. So it's nowadays not against Jews itself. Nevertheless, we do receive some complaints about drawings in our installations or shouting our people on the streets, mostly the ones that use the kippah and everything. But they are kind of held under control with the help of the local police. Other sector that we see that with concern is the rising of the local Islam. Islam is not bad itself, but we are like waiting or monitoring it, because we are afraid that some of these positions would take an extreme position, so it would be bad for us. The number of conversions in Chile has risen a lot lately. We see something new in our city. It's buildings of mosques and Islam centers and everything. This is something very new for us, and of course it worries us. And on the other side, we have a great presence of a group of Muslims living at the north of the country, in the city of Iquique. They have a great deal of influence at the free trade zone and related to the tribal border with Paraguay and Argentina and Brazil. And some people there were investigated for financing terror in terrorist groups in Latin America. So we are monitoring always this part of the things, and because of the Chileans' commercial open doors policy, it's very easy to them to come to invest, to go out. We have a lot of non-great visits. People that are being investigated or being person of interest in investigations about terror are entering our country and then going out. We don't know who they meet or everything, so we are kind of waiting and watching this very, very, very closely. As for the Palestinians, that is our main concern, because it's well known that Chile has the largest Palestinian community outside the Arab countries.
Veronica and Marcos, just like a quick answer. Veronica, so we've seen, you talked about awareness, and obviously it's extremely important, right? When people don't even know about terrorism, the reality of terrorism, then how can they act on it? What is the importance of creating those relationships? As I was reading all of your bios, all of you are liaisons with government, with media, with other organizations. The importance of those relationships and how to really maximize that relationship, and maybe a challenge or two in that, just quickly.
Yes, well, as Marco was saying, each Latin American country is a different country in itself, so I don't want to generalize when I say this. So some, and when I say we, is the Latin American Jewish Congress, we work with each community trying to respect the way the community wants to behave in the general society they live in. We have to remember that no matter where in the world, except Israel, the Jews are a minority within the society. Even in the United States, with 7 million Jews or so, don't quote me on the number. But and we help communities, and we try to explain how important it is to build those relationships with the outside of the community. It is important that the government, the national government, knows even about the 100 Jews that live in Honduras. It is important that the 50 communities of El Salvador have a relationship with the Christian communities or the evangelical communities outside of or that live also in the city. So this relationship, building this relationship with the media, with the academia, it's very important, we believe, for the survival of every community, every Jewish community. So, as you say, relationship building doesn't happen from one day to another. It's years and years of trying to show how the Jews live. Do you know how many people in Latin America haven't even seen a Jew in their life? Or have an idea of what it may look like, and when they meet you, they say, "Oh, but you don't look Jewish." What exactly was in your head as a Jew that I don't match your image? So for us, it's important that every Jew becomes an ambassador of the Jewish community and tries to explain how we live as a Jew and what does it mean to be Jewish. But as I say, they are relationships that are built on a daily basis, but through the long term. So we have to be patient, we have to be constant, we have to be open about who we are and what we do and what is important to us, and also learn what is important to others. It's not a one-way road, it's a two-way road. We have to, ask for help when we need it, but be there to help our allies when they need us also, right? So it's a very cautious work that needs to be done in a steady way, because for as many years as it may take to build a relationship, it can take a minute to just destroy it. Yes. When you make the wrong statement, when you were not there to support someone that asked you to. So we have to be cautious about these relationships that are vital to the survival of any Jewish community.
And I want to reiterate the fact about every one of us being an ambassador. And we used to do focus groups as to what messages actually worked in order to kind of, have Latinos embrace the concept of Israel and Jews in Latin America. Every single one of the people that were sitting in the focus group drew their entire concept about Israel from the one Jewish person that they know. And I don't mean their concept about the Jewish community. They draw their entire perception of Israel because of the one Jewish person that they know. So yes, every single one of us is an ambassador of the message. So Marcos, in terms of those relationships, but at the diplomatic level, in Latin America, we obviously have incredible opportunities now. And I know that you've talked about some important, ideas that can and hopefully will come to pass. So if you can close this presentation with that concept.
Latin America is a beautiful continent. You can see it on a map. You can see mountains, you can see wood, you can see lakes, you can see people. But in the geopolitical context, Latin America does not exist. There is no such thing as a Latin American position in politics common on anything. Not in the relation with the United States, not in relation with anything. We have two members in the Security Council, and they always vote different. In every issue, one votes for and the other one votes against. So, what I say is in the Latin America was never a united continent for absolutely anything. We speak Spanish, we are Catholic, but we don't see eye to eye with relate to politics and the global issues. We never did, and I don't see that that's going to change soon. People in Colombia know all what it says about Colombia in the New York Times and the Washington Post, and we don't know what the names of the papers are in Peru or Ecuador or whatever. We look to North America, and I think one of the things that set up Latin America is the relationship with the United States. And in the beginning of the millennium, when we have two presidents that wanted to create a Latin American identity, which were Hugo Chavez and Lula, created regional organizations which, for all purposes, are dead today, which is UNASUR and CELAC. So really, so we cannot talk about Latin America as a bloc to establish relations with absolutely anything, not for free trade, not with Europe, not with China, not with Russia, not with anything. So say that, so we can go to individual cases. And I can talk to the strategic triangle which is being built between my country, Colombia, the United States, and Israel. So we have a triangle here. Colombia declared Hezbollah and Hamas terrorist organization just a couple of months ago. Colombia is the main ally of the United States in Latin America, and Colombia is the main ally of Israel in Latin America. It's the closest friend of both. And I can give many examples. I don't want to take a long time. But so this is a strategic relation. Other countries have different relations. Other countries have more relation with China. Other countries just drip along. So, as I said, we cannot talk about Latin America in the geopolitical context, but each country has its own way. We all grew up in a Latin America which hated the United States, but everybody wanted to go to the United States. We grew up in a country in which Yankee go home in the 90s, and then Yankee, please come back and invest in our country immediately. So, as I said, there is no such thing as a Latin American geopolitical war. And for that, I finish, so we can open the floor. Say that I'm very glad that my country, Colombia, is a very different country in every sense that you can see. The only country that participated in the Korean War, the only Latin American country that supported the United States in the Iraq War, the only Latin American country member of NATO, associated member of NATO is Colombia, and Colombia is member of the OECD. So we have every country drifting along.
I think that Latin America is the lab where it's all cooking. So it's all being cooked, right? We have a very un área muy fértil,
Fertile
area
ground.
to put money there, to laundry money, to get in, to get out, to hold meetings. So, like, they are seeing us, and the other side are not that much. So that's our main worry.
And if I can add, I always say that in Latin America, what's happening with Iran and Hezbollah, it's kind of like a saying that we have in Spanish. It's like they're cooking us like frog in soup, right? It's like little by little, they're putting up the heat so that people don't notice, so that things are, you know, kind of go under the radar. So it is our duty to sound the alarm, for sure. And you have one last question?
Which, by the way, I'm sorry, before we switch subjects, which, by the way, we are doing. We had several countries in Latin America designating Hezbollah as a terrorist organization. So we are aware of the issue and we are working on it as well. I don't want it to leave only on the negative.
I was putting the alarm on them.
Argentina did it last year. Colombia designated it last year. Honduras also. So there are, you know, there is activity being done to bring awareness to our politicians about this. We are training security officials on, you know, on the issue of Hezbollah as well. So there is a threat which is growing, and there is also activity on the other side to try to balance it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, when I said they have to sound alarms, they have to sound the alarm. Like you guys here in the United States, you need to help us sound the alarm.
So it's not the same as we had. Our job as a Jewish community is to work to fill that hole and that space, and don't let others to fill it. So.
All right, so I just want to thank you again all for being here, because by you being here, you're also helping us create awareness. I want to please ask you that you give an amazing round of applause for